Hi there, welcome. We have here Dr. Clayton, who is a doctor of clinical hypnotherapy and psychology with a practice here in Virginia Beach for over 20 years now. I think this March is 22 years. And author of The Only Two Problems You Have and How to Solve Them.
Do we have a copy of that?
We in fact do.
Oh, we do. We do have a copy of that.
Recently released. And my name is Anjali Clayton. And I'm here to ask Dr. Clayton some questions. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
All right, so this book, fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much.
The title is very loud and clear and inquisitive. The Only Two Problems, as if we only have two problems. How did you come up with that title?
I did a lot of research. It actually took me about 10 years to write this book. And it was like one of the big struggles, I guess, of a writer is how do you organize, especially nonfiction, how do you organize what you're going to say? And the more I organized, the more I realized that people really only have two problems. And of course, that's referring to like psychological problems. So if you take aside physical injuries, maladies, diseases, and you're left with, you're only left with two problems that you can have. And you have full control over those problems. So you have the ability to take control of those and eliminate those and actually turn them into good things in your life.
What did you learn when you wrote this book? What surprised you the most?
What surprised me the most as I was writing the book?
Right.
Let's see. I think whenever you have a body of knowledge, before it's properly organized, you feel like it just goes in 100 directions and it will be hard to organize. But the more I worked with it and the more I put everything together, I realized that we really do only have the two problems, and there's really kind of a most efficient way to deal with them. And there's little sub ways to deal with each individual issue. But in general, the thing that surprised me the most was how universal the problems are and how universal the solutions are.
Who are your inspirations? It can be writers, academics. Who are your main inspirations for either your career or in writing two problems?
Let's see. I guess from a professional standpoint, Richard Bandler is probably the most important influence. As far as, personally, and I have this in the book, my wife, Anjali, absolutely one of the most important influences, encouragements, my family.
I think what's really unique about this book is that there are some illustrations in here, that will, completely change the way you can read a book when something's drawn.
Oh yeah. Especially a book as intangible as this one, because we're talking about mental mechanics and how things work in your mind. We've got, there's the outside world, and then there's you, the part of you think of yourself, which is the conscious mind, and then there's your unconscious, which is all the inner workings, the machinery that's going on behind, and that's very intangible. And the most important stuff that happens between you and your unconscious. So I found myself writing very complex, intangible concepts, and I was like, you know what, this needs an illustration. So I got, Eleni, who's a very talented artist, to draw illustrations of kind of some of the key concepts so they can just, something that might seem a little too complex when you read it, you see a picture and you're like, oh, okay, that's it, I get it now. So that was kind of the goal I wanted with the illustrations.
Great. I find this fascinating because you have your hypnosis profession and your psychology profession, and I feel like you blend them both together, but this is not a how to be a hypnotherapist kind of book.
Yeah, I specifically avoid, and I am a hypnotherapist by trade, but I specifically avoid talking about hypnosis in this book. It's hypnosis is kind of an amplifier for change. So kind of like, using a glove when you're gardening, you can get a lot more work done. The book is actually about the work itself, how to do it, how to garden. Whereas, again, I would say hypnosis is something that is a tool that amplifies the effectiveness of the things in the book. So maybe in the future I'll talk about hypnosis, but I want people to feel like even if you know nothing about hypnosis, you can still absolutely make these personal changes.
Some people would be fascinated to know that you are also an athlete yourself, MMA coach and former MMA athlete. Can you talk about how current excuse me, a current athlete? Talk about how that influenced your profession and this book as well, if you don't mind.
And really, most kind of service professionals, they kind of get to a certain level of competence and stay there, and there's really no incentive to move forward. But that's completely different than competitive sports. In competitive sports, you have to be the best. You have to constantly be getting better. And I was an athlete before I was a hypnotherapist, and I also was a competitive debater. So I had a lot of high-level competitive training before I became a hypnotherapist. So I always had that attitude moving forward. I've never had a hobby where it was okay to just be moderately good. So I feel like it was very natural to just, when I started learning hypnotherapy, like, okay, well, how can I be the best? How can I be better today? What can I do more efficiently? How can this get done more permanently? So I would say that is the primary way that my athletic background has influenced my profession.
Excellent. I can relate to that, being a
Professional
violinist,
violinist,
a writer myself, and we have commonalities there.
Yep, we do.
You know, and being coming in for performance anxiety really just transformed just my life. So I can attest to this book completely.
Thank you so much.
For an influence. Well, great. I think that's all the time that we have for today, but it was excellent.
Great. Thank you so much.
To speak with you. And this book, The Only Two Problems You Have and How to Solve Them, is now out on Amazon and Kindle.
Amazon, Kindle, yeah. So if you want to, and these are not the two problems, but if you want to quit smoking, lose weight, eliminate anxiety, phobias, depression, mental trauma, any of that stuff, it's all in here. And my goal is to show you the most efficient and effective way to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Clayton.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much.